it is also ruinously expensive, and it makes all of us less safe. Madam Deputy Speaker, as Home Secretary, I have a plan to bring about the change that is so urgently needed to deliver an immigration system that works in the interests of the British people.
You've been in charge the last 12 years. Has it really taken you 12 years to realise, you know what, maybe we should have an asylum system that works? Suella Braverman there, ladies and gentlemen. Suella Braverman just informing us how awful and expensive our asylum system is in this country. The system that her party have been in control of for the last 12 years. It seems to be like a daily occurrence now, where we're just getting Tory MPs out up in the House of Commons informing us how badly they've been managing the country for the last 12 years.
Well, does the Home Secretary agree with me? If the accommodation is not good enough for them, they can get on a dinghy and go straight back to France.
Yeah. Secretary.
Well, my honourable friend's right. The average cost per night is £150 per person per night in a hotel.
You're right, Braverman. You're right. £150 a night is ridiculous. But it's your policy. You've been in charge the last 12 years. This was the best you could come up with. Right, what are we going to do? We got double the amount of migrants coming over. What are we going to do? Stick them in a hotel for 150 quid a night at the taxpayer's expense? Yeah, of course. Perfect. Even though the French last year were going, oh, you lot, you can set up a centre. If you set up an asylum centre in France, you'll stop the channel crossings overnight. No, of course they're not going to do something sensible like that, are they? It makes me think that maybe they want all this catastrophe with migrants crossing, because when we're talking about migrants and refugees and channel crossings, we're not talking about how the Tory party have completely imploded over the last few weeks. Do you remember that? Just like last week we were talking about how ridiculous the Tory party are, but now this week we're talking about migrants crossing. So yeah, it kind of gets me thinking that maybe they want us talking about this rubbish. They don't want to solve it. And when we're distracted by this, we're also distracted by the fact the massive influence that Brexit has on this whole awful situation in the Channel. Isn't it peculiar? Should we have a little look at the figures, shall we? Should we have a little look at the figures? Now, was there anything significant that happened in sort of January 2021, at the beginning of 2021? Anything significant that meant that we had this massive leap in the amount of migrants crossing the Channel? Anything? Oh God. It's just so obvious, isn't it? It's so obvious, the factor that Brexit has had with this. Back when we were in the EU, we shared responsibility of asylum seekers. Asylum seekers were processed in the first safe country that they came to. The French had their obligation to take these refugees back if they were originally in France. It's just so obvious, isn't it? But now we're little England on our own, and we're having to face these massive problems by ourselves. The amount of migrants that are coming over into this country, we have to deal with on our own solely. When we were a part of the EU, the Dublin Agreement meant we were a collective. We shared responsibility. We shared the responsibility of helping refugees across all states in the EU. No one wants to recognise that fact. The difference is just blatantly obvious between 2020 and 2021. And talking of responsibility, I bang on about this all the time, but us in the UK, we have to take responsibility to why these refugees are coming over here. 10, 20 years of bombing the crap out of Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. We have to take responsibility for that. The destruction that this country and America and other countries have caused in the Middle East. We have to play our part in our responsibility for helping these people out. And another thing that I've said many a time, we're facing a couple of problems in this country at the moment. What's big in the news is the migrant problem, but we have a shortage of labour. A shortage of labour in this country. And a lot of workers over the Channel wanting to come and work over here. It's just obvious to me that the Tory party want this chaos. They want it. They want us distracted by it because it's a perfect distraction. This problem can be solved. I've talked about the French want us to open asylum-seeking centres over in France. Let's take our fair share of asylum seekers over and let's get them sorted straight away. Let's get them processed. Let's get them with national insurance. Let's get them working. Let's invest in decent dwellings where they can learn how to speak English and integrate into our country and start paying and start working and start paying tax straight away. The Tories want to put them up in hotels at the taxpayer's expense at 150 quid a night. Who does that help? We have a labour shortage here. We have farms that are desperate for farm working. Let's get these people over here working. And like I say, invest, because you'll get the money back. You'll get the money back from decent, healthy, young, fit, tax-paying people to come and work in this country. And if you do it right, and you look after them, you teach them English, you teach them English culture, they'll integrate and they'll be outstanding members of the society. What do you think, guys? What do you think? It just frustrates me. It just frustrates me that the Brexit side of this is never talked about. Never talked about. And it's just so blaringly obvious. It really is. Anyway, till next time, take care.